4 Iraqi men have been awarded tens of thousands of pounds in damages as the High Court rules they were illegally detained and ill-treated by British troops. The case opens the door to hundreds of other potential claims. RT's Anastasia Chokina has more on the ruling.
This is an important ruling that the High Court has delivered here in London today. Specifically, we have seen 4 Iraqi citizens being awarded damages in cases against the actions of the Ministry of Defense during the Iraq War and the way these people were detained. Now, the court has decided that these 4 Iraqi citizens are going to be awarded £84,000, with £30,000 going to just one of those men. And the reason for this is the judge has ruled that the actions of British troops and the way they were detaining these people were in violation of Geneva Conventions as well as the Human Rights Act, citing cruel and inhumane treatment as well as unlawful detention. The judge has said that these assaults, quote, involved the gratuitous infliction of pain and humiliation for the amusement of those who perpetrated them, end quote. And we have to say that this comes just 10 days after the International Criminal Court found, quote, reasonable basis to understand that British troops might have been involved in war crimes when it comes to detaining Iraqi citizens. And the reason this ruling is important today is because it's seen as a kind of test cases to see how similar claims could be handled in the future moving forward. And there are over 600 claims such as these currently ongoing. And we have to keep in mind that also over 300 claims were settled out of court by the Ministry of Defense, who had paid out as much as £22 million. And we do know that when it comes to this latest ruling, the Ministry of Defense have said that they're studying this judgment.
Well, for more on this, I'm now joined by a solicitor who specialises in human rights law, Jamie Kerr. Jamie, evening to you.
Evening, Bill.
This is only 4 cases out of hundreds, so can this be seen really as a victory?
Yes, I think it can, Bill. And I think what we've got to remember is that the media onslaught there's been in the UK complaining about spurious cases, and what this decision shows is that these cases are not spurious. There are about 1,000 or so cases. A third of them have already been settled without the need for court at a cost of £22 million. But what this shows is that the evidence of those Iraqi civilians is true. What they say happened to them did happen to them. And that can't be right, and it's only right that the Ministry of Defence has to pay for the wrongs that have been carried out there.
So just tell us more about these spurious cases. This is where unscrupulous lawyers have exploited cases similar to this in the past, but they've actually turned out to be bogus cases and not true.
Well, that's what the media and the Ministry of Defence and some of the UK-based politicians have been saying about these types of cases, that there's a narrative out there that these cases shouldn't be going to court, that court time should not be wasted. There's a narrative that the British military should not be held to account for these types of offences that they've carried out. And in this case from the courts, evidence was heard, and the courts heard what happened to the civilians who were unlawfully detained. There was torture, there was inhumane, degrading treatment, there was hooting, there was deprivation of sleep, there were cigarette burns, and it was all done to not enforce control or enforce compliance, but simply for the pleasure of those detaining them.
Well, the Minister of Defence has said it is studying this judgment. But what does it mean by that, studying the judgment? Is it going to be forced to pay this compensation, or can it contest the ruling?
I suspect the Ministry of Defence will be speaking to their lawyers about challenging this further, but what the Ministry of Defence ought to be doing is looking at what's happened and putting in place very robust policies and speaking about culture changes to ensure that this cannot happen again. This is a shame on the British military establishment, and there'll be many people, many soldiers, many in service who are ashamed of the actions, but what this is a step towards, I suspect, on the part of the Ministry of Defence, is recognising that these things happen and that they're unacceptable and that they need to be drummed out, because if they're not drummed out, then those who suffer at the hands of military...
Just briefly then, the Ministry of Defence has closed down its Iraq Historical Allegations team, hasn't it? After more than 3,000 claims of abuse were dismissed. So do you think actually they'll have to revisit that and perhaps the decision could be overturned now?
I suspect so, because I think there are still a lot of Iraqi civilians out there who have not seen justice.
Jamie, thank you very much indeed for joining us live here on RT UK.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Thank you very much.